presentation. And can we welcome Mr. Charles Lewis to the stage, who's going to give us an important update about what's happening at the state level. Everybody, welcome Charles.
Good morning, Greenwood Democrats. I'm still out here trying to do what I can do. About September, the chair, Crystal, chair of the Democratic Party, called and asked me to join the project roadmap for South Carolina. And there were about 15 committee members, and it consists of several professional people. It consists of lawyers, judges, state reps, professors, and county chairs that are serving on this project roadmap. I had sent to Bill back in September, October, information to send on his website to ask you guys if you had anything in mind that you thought you would like for this committee to address as we got together. Now, my chair of my committee, as we divided the 15 into fives, and we took different areas that we were responsible for. My area with my group was voter engagement. Our chair is Chris Kinney. He's an attorney in Columbia, and also Senator Bright Matthews. Give you a little history on Senator Bright Matthews if I hadn't lost it. It's a thing about phones, okay. Margie Bright Matthews is a Democratic member of the South Carolina Senate, representing the 45th District since 2015, when she won a special election to succeed Clementa Pinckney, who was killed in the Charleston church shootings in 2015. She is an attorney who founded her own law firm, and she is really a bright mind, and it's really a joy to serve alongside these people and all the insight that they have into South Carolina. Kenny, who is one of our chairs, reported the goal of the subcommittee work is a written report to the full committee by January 2024. So we're about to wrap this up. We have been meeting in Zoom meetings, and we had a couple of in-person meetings. The component of the subcommittee work may include the following party activities to identify, engage, and mobilize voters: registration, relational organization, persuasions and ID, and turnout. These are just some notes that we were sent out on our email that I just want to share with you because there are certain things that we cannot share. They asked us not to share. Examine the party's relationship to its county parties and the party's relationship to its legislative party caucus. Concerning county parties, with all the expectations for and support of county parties. And I'm glad to hear about all of this, talking about supporting our county parties, because I have some reservations as to how much support I got from the state, when I was chair. Nevertheless, we persevered, but our chairman at the time was very supportive, to us, but I just felt there was certain more aspects that they could have done as a state party to help support the county parties. One such thing was what I had mentioned, and I'm pushing now, is that we can have a county party retreat. If we could have a county party retreat where all of our county parties across the state, I think it's like, 42, 43 county? Yeah, 46. And if we could come together at Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head or something, and just kind of network, get to know each other, and then they could give them, the state could give us their objectives as to what they're looking for and what they're expecting out of the county parties, and give us some guidance. Those of us that was as new as I was at their time could have definitely used that. Additionally, how do county parties communicate with voters? Who is driving that message, and what role does the party have in shaping county party messaging? Similarly, What, if any, coordination is there between legislative party caucuses and the party concerning Democrats' legislative agenda and earned media opportunities? What is the party's brand? How does it communicate its views, and what are the goals of the party communication? As we think about voter engagement and organization through county parties and caucuses, how is the party currently communicating with voters, and is it effective to build brand loyalty and mobilize turnout for Democrat? Components of the topic might include examining research plan, message discipline, earned media, paid media, and there are several other components to this that, when I told you before that 15 of us were chosen, we divided into 5 in each group of 3s, and I was assigned to voter engagement, and then the second one was organizing, and number 3 was communicating. The meeting teams, Crystal was the chair, proposed breaking, as I just said, into 15 groups. I'll tell you about that. Now, I just sent to Bill, one of our committee members sent out an email where there was an interview done by the New York Times reporter, and the question was at that time, are black voters leaving Democrats behind? That was a big question. And there are, surprisingly, more and more black people that's leaning toward Trump for whatever reason. One thing I think is because the Republicans are really good at branding what they are looking for and what they want. And I just think the Democratic Party need to do more of telling people what they're doing and what they're working on, and making and branding it like the Republic. They keep saying the same thing over and over, and all of them say the same thing until we start to believe what it is that they're saying. So this is now, are black voters leaving Democrats behind? I sent this to Bill. It's an interview that the New York Times reporter did with his family as he went home for the Thanksgiving dinner. And he interviewed the seniors and middle age, and then he interviewed the younger ones that were at the gathering at the same time. It's worth listening to. If you're interested in listening to it, just hit Bill up. I sent it to him last night, and he can forward it to you, and you could hear for yourself without me trying to give you all of that at this particular time. His name was Amstead Hendon with the New York Times. Now, what we did with our group, and Chris did, we interviewed a lot of candidates and people that worked across the state and out of the state, as far as Alaska and also Detroit. That we talked to people that was successful in their elections because they had the groups behind them, and we asked the chairs of those groups, how did they do what they did, in the interview. We even talked with, like I said, it was a guy from Chicago, Alaska, and other different areas across our country. And when I asked Mary Guerin, she was my guest on Zoom, and talked with her and kind of picked her brain as to how she engaged voters, as a white woman going to try and get the votes of black people. And she was very forward in that she had no reservations in going into black establishments and or et cetera to talk to them about what she had to offer. And I think Mary was a great candidate to do that, because she somewhat came up from humble means like most of us. So that was great for her to have her own at that time. Now, I'm not going to hold you long, and there's a lot of stuff here I can't share with you, but now, as you heard me say, in January, we get back to go together, all 3 of the committees, voter engagement, organizing, and communications. Now, on top of that, Bill and Reverend Thompson did send me some literature, I mean, some information as that they would like to the committee to look at. Now, I passed that on to Crystal, and hoping that she passed it on to Jay Palmer, who is the executive director, and it would be looked at and somehow incorporated in our thinking as to which direction we would go, and how we would have everybody a part of what it is that we're doing. We've got a meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock, which is a Zoom meeting, and I think another meeting after that, and then we gather to put all of 3 of these committees work together to see where Crystal and Jay will come out, what side they'll come out on so far as the things that they're going to be pushing to us. Now, you guys may have seen it, it was in the Index Journal. It was an article of the Charleston mayoral race. Did any of you see that in the Index Journal? You read that? It was an editorial, and they were talking about the guy that beat out the Democratic mayoral race was beat by less than 100 points by the Republican challenger, because his strategy was not necessarily knocking doors and calling people and et cetera. He just had a large campaign blitz on TV and on social media, and he just saturated those fields, and he came out on top. So I sent that to my chair, Chris Kinney, and also to Jay Palmer, that may be something that, so for a strategy, that we might need to look at how we can, because if we engage the younger people, maybe Lander and some of those younger people, social media, if they can, some years ago, they put together a Michael Jackson dance, and they put it together in hours, and hundreds of people showed up, and some of you may have seen that video, and it went viral in no time. This social media stuff for young people is just a cakewalk, and we need to take advantage of it. Thank you all for listening. Y'all have a great meeting. I'm sorry. Yes.
Tell.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what actually Project Roadmap is? Are you just going to do a deliverable of a report in January? I mean, what's really going to come from that at the start of an election year?
What the goal is, these 3 groups that I just mentioned to you, is that we would go out into our communities, depending on our geographical areas, and then we would bring back to my group, which is voter engagement, things that I've learned. I've talked with young people. I just talked to a young man last night that's at Clemson. What are your young people saying about voting? And the biggest thing they're saying is that their vote don't count. And so if you got young people at Clemson thinking that their vote don't count, and he was a very astute young man, and I was really surprised and gratified at the same time that he knew what the heck I was talking about and what I was asking. And he was a little bit aggravated with his fellow friends also that they just don't vote. And he said when he turned 18, he was happy to vote. But the thing is, when all of us, the 15 people, report back to our committee, voter engagement, the things that we've learned, and we email, constantly, daily, certain things. I sent to Chris the article that was in the paper to consider, and all of this would the chair and Senator Bright Matthews and some other people that Chris had identified that's good at putting together information such as what we would be sending to them, and then you have the 3 of them come together and present that information to Chris and Jay Palmer. And Crystal and Jay Palmer, and then they would make the decision what strategies they would use. Does that make sense? Also, Crystal has been getting huge amounts of feedback and positive vibes from Project Roadmap from across the state, because for the first time they see a chair that's actually strategizing, networking, and out there actually really fighting and at real time trying to make a difference, you know, for the state of South Carolina, because there's a lot that has kind of went, you know, under the gun over the years that I have seen. One of them being when I called Trav or text Trav a few years ago when the Secretary of Education won her election, and I asked him, what are you all doing about this situation, knowing that this lady was not qualified? And his answer was, I've got several attorneys working on it, but nothing ever came out of that. And I think he said the State Department, U.S. State Department at the same time. You know, we all know that that was kind of a push-in, you know, of her into that position, because she certainly was not qualified. But that's just indicative of that party, because we know Trump was not qualified as well, right?
Charles, we got to make room for other speakers coming up.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Did it? Somebody had another question? I think it was in 1, 2. Somebody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charles.